it's Maddie. Welcome back to my channel. In today's non-diabetes video, I'm going to be discussing what is the fundamentals behind TB or tuberculosis testing. I just kind of wanted to do this in case anybody who is a medical professional or is interested in being a medical professional, kind of like where I'm going into the dental field. Still, if you are interested in being a healthcare professional, this is something you have to go through initially, and then every year thereafter is getting a tuberculosis test, particularly the tuberculosis skin test. But if you are allergic to that test or cannot do that test for whatever reason, you will have to either do the blood test or they will give you chest x-rays depending on what they find. But anyways, I wanted to explain kind of how my TB test went and kind of how it works. Like I said, if you are interested in being a healthcare professional, you have to have this done every year. Tuberculosis is a bacteria that infects the lungs. And it's one of those ones that are very hard to treat, and it was very common back then. They used to call it consumption because it would literally consume your whole body. But now that we've learned how to quarantine and have antibiotics, TB doesn't really get spread around too much, at least here in the United States. There was some sort of vaccine for TB out in third world countries, but it was never offered here. That's why they kind of allow us to do these TB skin tests, is to make sure we don't carry TB, because it can actually lay dormant in your body for quite a long time. But me being a dental hygienist, in order to get into my program, before I do any clinical applications on patients, I was required to take a TB skin test. When you first do the TB skin test, you have to do a two-step, meaning that you do the same test once and then you come back within 1 to 3 weeks and have that same test repeated again. This skin test is very easy and pretty cost effective. That's why they want us to do the skin test, just because of the cost effectiveness and the ease and the ability to have them read as positive or negative are much easier. But TB skin tests, like I said, are really easy to do, but they're kind of a very time sensitive tests. And I'm kind of explain how it kind of goes. So obviously you can make an appointment with your general practitioner, or like at my college, I could have gotten them done for like $5, which I might do from now on. Just because that's really, really cheap and not even worrying about running it through the insurance. But they're usually covered fairly well by insurance, especially if you are a medical professional. And even if you are in the medical professional field, they may cover that test for you. But basically it is a test that is administered on the forearm, in this area here, kind of in between where the elbow is and the wrists are, somewhere in this area. They give you an injection of liquid tuberculin right directly underneath the skin, and they give you a little wheel to see if you have a reaction. If you have been exposed to tuberculosis in the past or have had tuberculosis in the past, that little wheel that is injected under your skin will stay the same, or it will get raised or elevate or kind of swell up. If you haven't been exposed, that little wheel of fluid of tuberculin that they injected under your skin will dissipate within 24 to, I believe 24 to 48 hours. What is it? No. 48 to 72 hours, excuse me. Because it's a very time-sensitive test. So when you go in and get the injection, then you have to come back within 48 to 72 hours and have that test read. Because if you don't get it read, if you get it read before 48 hours or after 72 hours, it's not a valid test and you have to repeat it. So like I said, what they're looking for is kind of a little spot on your arm. They're looking to see if it's raised or not. And when they put it on you, they advise you not to scrub it, not to touch it, not to put any bandaid over it, obviously, because then you're going to falter with that test. Why do they use a skin test? So, for people that have been exposed to tuberculosis, their body will react to this tuberculin agent. Again, it's not an agent that will get you sick. It's kind of like a vaccine in essence. It's not really a living type of serum, but it's a serum that would still react if you were exposed to it in the past. If you have antibodies in your blood that did fight off tuberculosis, or you are carrying tuberculosis, your body will react to that tuberculin agent. But if you've never had it, your body won't react to it. It'll just go away. So when they gave me my first one, it immediately, within like an hour or two, it was gone. So I knew my test was negative, but you have to wait it out that 48 to 72 hours. So I just made sure that there was no soap on it, that I didn't scrub it, didn't touch it, put a Band-Aid on it, etc., etc. I did ask them that I could, because I'm a type 1 diabetic, is injecting insulin gonna mess with that test, or is my monitor on my arm gonna mess with my test? And they said no. But for safety precautions, I avoided injecting insulin into that side of my arm for those few days that the test was running. And then what they do is, again, they're going to feel for any, what they call induration. If there's any type of swelling or the wheal that they put under your skin grows bigger, they will measure it. They're looking for less than, I think less than 5 millimeters is negative. But obviously, like, mine were 0 because it was completely gone. They didn't even have to measure nothing. They just rub it over, and if there's absolutely nothing there, it's absolutely negative. It's 0 millimeters. They put that on a sheet. Doctor signs it, not a problem. This is a one-step test. I will have to do this every single year for as long as I decide to be in a medical field or a dental field. But initially, because this was my first time, I had to repeat this test again. So it was a 2-step in essence. So 2 weeks later, I made an appointment to do the same thing again. Get injected underneath the arm and then wait it out 48 to 72 hours and have that test read again. Now, if I would have waited more than 3 weeks or did it in a span of less than a week, this 2-step wouldn't have counted either, and I would have had to repeat the test. So I just chose it safely and did test number 1 and its reading on 1 week, the first week in December, and I did test number 2 and its reading in the 3rd week of December. So that's a very safe way for me to deal with things. So I got the 2-step done. Now, as long as every single year, as long as I in December go and get my TB test renewed, I only have to do a 1-step where it's a one-time thing. They read it once and it's the end of story. Now, if I were to have failed this TB skin test, I would have had to have the blood test done. If I would have failed the blood test and it was coming up positive, I would have to have a chest x-ray to make sure that there was no tuberculosis active inside my lungs. And if that's the case, then they probably would treat me for tuberculosis and then retest. Or I may not be allowed to practice with people because, again, TB is one of those things that can spread and it's not good for people. It's not good for people with immunocompromised systems. It's not good in general is because it is one of those diseases that can lie dormant for a while. That's why they do these tests, to make sure you're not carrying it or have been exposed to it in the past. Even people that are admitted to nursing homes have to have this test done. Any elderly patient or patients that need nursing facilities or rehabilitation facilities, they have to have this test done too. So I kind of wanted to share what a TB skin test is, what it looks like. I'll actually put some pictures in here for you guys to see kind of what it looks like. It's not scary. I was kind of freaked out that they do it right under the skin. I thought it was going to be like painful, but obviously me being a diabetic, it wasn't any different. Just an injection right underneath the skin, and they're just looking for a reaction. And if there's no reaction or nothing changed, you're negative. If there is a reaction, you're positive. It's a very basic test, but again, it's very important to identify if anybody has had TB in the past because, again, you don't want to be spreading that around. And yeah, I think that's basically all I have to say about TB skin tests, kind of why I got one, how mine went. And now from now on, I just do a 1-step unless I forget to renew it. Then I have to go back again and do a 2-step. It's kind of like an expiration thing. When you initially do it, you have to do a 2-step, and then every year after, you only have to do a 1-step. Unless, of course, I was allergic to the tuberculin that they put under my skin, they would just be giving me a blood test every single year. And like I said, if I don't get it by this coming December, if I don't go in and do it, then I will have to repeat that 2-step again. But as long as I do it every single December, for as long as I'm a practicing healthcare professional or dental professional, there's going to be no problems with them accepting anything. Like I said, it's a very simple test. When I was learning about this and learning what it was, I wish there were videos that kind of explain things. But it's not scary, it's not painful. It's just more cumbersome to come back 3 days later to your doctor and have that read. And that it's so time sensitive. That's where a lot of people fail with TB skin tests, is not paying attention to the time requirements needed for their facility. The requirements I talked about are probably pretty standard across America, or at least in the state of Wisconsin. But you just kind of got to follow the rules of your facility or your healthcare facility to make sure you're not going against those. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Feel free to hit that subscribe button down below. I post videos every single week about diabetes plus more, like obviously the TB skin test, like today's video, kind of a random video, but I wanted to share about that. And if you do decide to subscribe, there is a notification bell. When you turn that on, you will get a notification on any of your devices when I upload something new. And until tomorrow, for more diabetes-related content, take care, God bless, be kind, spread positivity, and be thankful. Bye, everyone.